Hello, welcome to your 13th scripting tutorial. Now, this tutorial we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So, no more of that printing and yeah, just printing really. We're going to be doing something different. So we're going to be learning about events. So events is something. How do I explain it? It's like when you do something to trigger something else, if that makes sense. Whoops. Anyway, so let me give you an example of an event. An event would be like something like a touched event. So say you touch a part, you want that part to do something once you've touched it. That would be an event because you've touched it and you've triggered off this event, which is the touched event. So we are going to be looking at the touched event in this tutorial. So when you touch a brick, maybe it goes transparent, maybe it grows in size, or maybe it moves up, I don't know. So let's have a look. First, let's insert a spawn location. So insert one of these spawn locations, which is just a spawn. So when we go and test a place, we spawn next to the part that we want to touch. So let's give the spawn a color. I normally color my spawns purple when I'm touching them, or I mean when I'm testing them. So anchor it, make sure it's anchored so that it doesn't fly off. Okay, so now we're going to spawn here when we test our game. Now let's insert basic objects part. Insert a part into the game, and let's stick that part somewhere next to the spawn. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, let's make it a bit bigger, and let's anchor this as well. So okay, so the part is also anchored. Right, so let's color it bright green. Okay, now let's click on the part. Then go to Insert Basic Objects, Script. So we're now inserting a script into the part. So the script should be inside this part here. As you can see, the part is now a parent of the script, and the script is the child. So let's begin scripting the event. Now, to script an event, you just do this. First, you get the part that you want to add the event to, script.parent. Okay, we've got the part now by using script.parent. Now, let's get the event. So all you've got to do is dot touched, which is the touched event. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get a full list of events of any object after this. Okay, so now we've got the event, we need to connect to it. So just do a colon connect. Okay, so we've now got the event fully. We can start to do whatever we want with the event. So we've got the part, we took the event from the part, and we've just added connect onto the end to connect to the event or something like that. Okay, so there's two ways of doing this now. There's two ways of using events. I'm going to show you one way. Basically, okay, just do an open bracket here after the event. Okay, now we need a function inside the event, because when someone's shouting outside, I don't know if you can hear that, but okay, so now we need a function inside the event. So just type a function. Seems a bit confusing, right? But I'm going to explain everything afterwards. So we've got the part, we've got the event, we've connected to it, open bracket. Now we're going to create a function to make the event do something. So let's create that function. We don't need to give it a name. Now this is because we don't need to call this function because it's an event. So there's no need to actually call the function by its name. So therefore it doesn't need a name because we're using the touched event. And whenever someone touches the part, it's going to automatically call this function here. Okay, so there's no need to give it a name because we already have a way of calling it, which is touching the brick. So now let's end this function by skipping a few lines down and going end. Now you notice that it's still lighted up red. That's because we've opened the event here using the open bracket here, and we've got our function here. We've opened that and closed that using the parentheses. We still need to close the event though. So by doing that, just stick a closed bracket on the end of the function. Yeah. So just stick a closed bracket here. Now this looks a bit confusing to you, but you will catch along once you start using it more often. So this is just the structure of the event now. We've got the event here. we're telling it, okay, once you've touched a part, you're going to call this function here. So anything inside this function here, in between these two lines here, which I'm highlighting, that's what we're going to. We need to stick code into there to make it do something when we touch the part. So let's change the brick color. So let's go script.parent.brick color equals brick color.new bright red. Okay, so when we touch the part, it's going to go red. So let's go click exit off the script. We're not going to press play this time. We're going to go to Tools, Test, and we're going to click on Play Solo. And then we'll wait for that to load, and we can test if the script works. Okay, let's touch the part. Look at that, it's gone red once I've touched it. So that is how events work. It's not all that simple to make them, but you'll catch along once you've been using it for a while. Now, this is one way of creating events. Just get the part, get the event, .touched, connect to the event, and open bracket, function, parentheses, end, stick a close bracket on the end of it, and that's how to do it. You'll learn it as you go on. So that's one way of creating an event. What about the other way that I was talking about? So this is how to do it. Create a function. You've got to give this one a name though. So let's call it anything really. You can call it, I'm going to call it Untouched to make it, well, better, yeah. So we know what this function does now because I've given it a sensible name, Untouched. Right, another thing I forgot to tell you is that these functions can take parameters, but I will talk to you about that in another tutorial. Okay, so function Untouched. Now this isn't going to do anything because we haven't triggered the event. So now let's connect this function to an event, because this function is just a lone function. It doesn't do anything because we haven't called it, we haven't told it, okay, if we're going to touch this brick, okay, nothing's going to happen because we haven't told it to do anything. So let's tell it to do something. So let's go script.parent.touch. We've got the event now, we need to connect to it like usual. Connect, okay, and then stick the parentheses on the end. Now we need to give this, we need to put something inside the parentheses, which is the function name. So let's do that. Okay, now we've got the part, we've got the event, we've connected to it, and inside the parentheses we've put the function name inside here. So what this is going to do is it's going to say, okay, when the brick is touched, it's going to go to this function here. So it's like calling this function like this. It's like calling it like that, except we're calling it with an event instead of just calling it like this in a script. So we've just called this function here, but with an event, as you can see here. So we can do the same thing. Let's go script.parent.brick color equals brick color.new bright purple this time. Okay, so now when we go test play solo, it will turn purple because we've connected the function to the event and it just does the same thing. Okay, oh, that's gone pink. What? Has Roblox changed the colours or something? I don't know. That, oh, I see. I made it bright purple, not I don't know what the colours are. Anyway, yeah, I meant to say bright violet. It's violet, not purple. Anyway, so that's another way of connecting events to functions. So now you know the two ways of connecting events to functions. You can do it by doing on one line. You can do script.parent.touched connect, open function, parentheses, end, close bracket, done. Okay, that's one way of connecting to an event, and then you put whatever code you want inside here to do whatever you want. Or you can do it this way by getting the event down here, connecting it to a separate function like this, and then making it run the code here. Okay, so now I want to show you something which is, Okay, let's go to, if you just go to help, go to object browser, okay, and you can see all this stuff here. Now, these are really useful. So they take all the objects here. So all the objects you can put into a game are all here. So they're all here. You just find the object which you want. So let's go to part. So scroll down and find part. Now you get all the functions that you can use with this part in a script. Functions I'll go over the next tutorial, how to use all these. But you can see all the properties of the part here, all the properties that you can use with part, and most importantly all the events you can use with parts. So all these things here which have the yellow striky lightning bolt are events, and all these are events that you can use in a part. So for instance, we use the touched part, the touched event. So this teaches you how to use a touched event. It says you just put touched on it on the end, so it shows you all the spellings and everything, how to use the events. Just get the part, go dot touched, and inside here you can see it takes a parameter, or it gives you a parameter more like, of another part. But I'm going to actually no, I'm going to show you this part parameters in the next tutorial. Yeah, I'm going to show you this little part in the next tutorial, but this is just how to get all the events. So if you add a child to the part, so the script is a child, if we were to add another child in the game, it would call this event. If we were to change a property of the part, so let's change it to anchored, it would call the changed event. And yeah, all these are different events. You can see with different things you get different events. So let's go click on humanoid. You can get different events here. So the died event, if a humanoid dies, you call this event here. And then whatever you want to happen if someone dies in the game. The jumping event, so if the person jumps, it calls this event. So you can see there's tons of events for any object in Roblox Studio. So that's just a brief summary of how to get events. This is how to create events. The two ways you can do it. You do whichever one you're comfortable with. I personally use the other one, not this one, the other one, but still you can use whatever event you want to use. So yeah, that's how you do events. I'll see you in the next tutorial where I talk about more events. So also I wanted to tell you that everything that we've learned in the previous tutorial, so printing and more printing, but with if statements, with different types of functions and all that, so we covered a lot of printing in the previous tutorials. Now all that is useful. All the things that I've taught you in the previous tutorials, like if statements, what else did I teach you, variables, all that sort of stuff, that's very useful to learn, and you need to know it all. So events is kind of where you can start to see a game forming, like when you touch a part, it does something. So that's all the physical things that you can change, like events. But things like printing and if statements and all that sort of stuff, they are still very important. You need to know those. So everything that I'm teaching you in these basic tutorials, you need to learn it all. So when it comes to the advanced tutorials that I'll teach you afterwards, you'll start to understand everything a bit better. Okay then, so next tutorial I'm going to be teaching you more about events and different types of functions, not like functions which I've been showing you in the previous tutorials, but different functions. So yeah, I'll show you all that in the next couple of tutorials then.